What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for my new subscribers. Please hit the subscribe button. I'm saying for my new viewers, please hit the subscribe button. Everybody else, welcome back. I appreciate you. I have another twisted case to bring to you. I mean, there are some crazy people in this world, as we all know. For me, a man who served 17 years in prison, to say there's some crazy people out there is telling you something. But this is another twisted case that's transpiring. This is out in Midwest, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the Midwest, and it is about a sex slave house, a sex slave operation. You know, there are there is an individual under arrest, and so I'll give you some details that you're not going to get from just one story. I've studied many stories to bring this to you, and so I'll give you the up-to-date information on it. 38-year-old Austin Cronister is his name. 38-year-old Austin Cronister. And there's a picture of him right there. You see Mr. Cronister. And so it is alleged that he has committed such crimes. I will get into his charges as well. And as I always say, you never know who's living next door to you. That's what I should call this series. You never know who's living next door, because this took place in a beautiful neighborhood, one of the oldest neighborhoods in the city of Milwaukee. 3022 State Street, I believe West State Street. And he had a sex slave operation going on in his house. And this is believed to have been taking place since 2020. So that is that is 5 years now. He had women in the house, multiple women in the house, and they were found tattooed with numbers, with sex slave numbers on them, right? Just think of that in itself, how twisted that is right there, that the women were tattooed with sex slaves numbers. They were not allowed to leave the house. They were also found with collars around their neck, with dog collars around their neck. They were to remind them of what they were there for, and that they were there to perform. They were not allowed to leave the residence, so he did not allow them to leave the residence. And as I said, it was taking place since 2020. Mr. Austin Cronister, is currently in the Milwaukee County Jail. He is charged with false imprisonment, sexual assault, human trafficking, and he's being held right now. He's not out on bail. It was alleged that he would throw BTSM parties. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's bondage, discipline, dominance, sadism. He would hold these parties inside of the house, and he kept their documents. He kept their birth certificates. He kept their social security cards. He kept all their documentation, so they were not allowed to leave. Don't know where he found these women. Haven't read any reports of where he found these women. So don't know if they were kidnapped. Don't know if they were drug addicts. Don't know if they were willing participants in the life. But if they were willing, I don't believe he would have been arrested. What is also crazy about this case is that there is another person named in the complaint as well, and her name is Kristen St. Pierre, and a female, Kristen St. Pierre, who was a district attorney. She is named in the complaint as well. She was a district attorney and at one time a 911 operator. She is also the co-owner of the house with the other guy that's been arrested. And as I said, this is in a gorgeous neighborhood. Let me show you a little video real quick so you can get a little news update on it. Here, check out this video.
Right now, police are investigating a sex slave operation in Milwaukee.
Yeah, this man, Austin Cronister, tonight accused of keeping women against their will, tattooed with slave numbers.
It's all unfolding in the historic Concordia neighborhood near 31st and State. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard is there live now tonight. Hannah, they have a special name for the home.
Right, Kristen and Blake, they call it House St. Pierre. The allegations, all detailed in this criminal complaint, stem back to 2020. Investigators say the suspect had multiple women living under this one roof at the time. Those women expected to sign a strict contract to live here. Inside this Milwaukee home, investigators revealing dark details of sex, abuse, and control. Detectives say all at the hands of this man, Austin Chronister. A newly filed criminal complaint says Chronister lived here with multiple women, making them sign a contract. That contract with 5 rules, including obedience, sex, and to wear a collar to remind the women they were, quote, at all times being evaluated for service. It says only Chronister had the key to the collar. The complaint details 2 victims' experiences inside the home, both making claims of sexual assault. One describing if she disobeyed Chronister, he would, quote, hit, choke, trip, kick her. And there was also threats to inject her with a substance that would be harmful to her. The other saying the women all had the same slave tattoo and slave numbers. Prosecutors describe another woman assisting the suspect, keeping the victim's birth certificates and social security cards in a safe. The complaint says the property has a name, House St. Pierre. A sign on the back of the house shows the name. We tried calling those connected with Chronister.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail.
And went to the home. But no one answered or called us back. Online court records indicate the 38-year-old man is right now in custody, charged with false imprisonment, sexual assault, and human trafficking.
Such disturbing allegations. Hannah, investigators say the suspect had other demands for the women.
Right. One of those demands, Kristen, was the women were asked to change their last name to St. Pierre. According to the criminal complaint, at least one woman did just that. Again, Chronister online record showing that he is in custody tonight.
All right, Hannah Hilliard reporting live in Milwaukee tonight. Thank you.
So as you see right there, this is a very twisted situation. And as I always say, what I always want to tell you is that this unfolded, right, in a beautiful neighborhood. The house is an attractive house. Looks like it could be, in Milwaukee, could be close to $1 million home. This this Austin that was arrested was a real estate broker for Sotheby's International Realty Group. Imagine this guy showing you a house, right? So the other person named in the complaint, as I said, is a district attorney or former district attorney who was a 911 operator. So it appears on the surface that you have 2 people with respected jobs, real estate agent for Sotheby's International and former district attorney, 2 people that you think are pillars inside of the community, right? And here they are, they have sex slaves inside of their house with dog collars, tattooed numbers on them. One of the women stated, obviously, if they didn't do what he said, he would kick them, he would choke them, he would beat them. He told the women that they had to change their last names to his name. And if they didn't do so, he would inject them with something. He would inject a liquid inside of their body, So we're talking about some really twisted things right now. I gave you the story yesterday or early this morning. A matter of fact, I posted it about the stepmother who kept her stepson in the room for 20 years. You know what I mean? For 20 years, this is why you have to be so careful, right? I'm not telling you to be paranoid or scared, but you have to be careful when you meet people. You know what I mean? Because you don't know anybody. As I explained in one of my previous videos, and I'm just going to use myself an example. I'm not twisted. I may have been in prison a bunch of times, and even for sadly and unfortunately taking a man's life, which wasn't intentional. But these that was a one-time thing. I'm being honest. You know what I mean? I didn't run around society taking people's lives. It was a one-time unfortunate incident. You know what I mean? These people are doing things that every day of their life. It's a pattern of behavior for them. They are sick and twisted individuals that live every day like this. And what I was going to say is that when I was using myself as an example, is that you don't know me. All you see is my body, and people confuse the body with the person. As the old saying goes, who I am is on the inside, right? And so when you meet someone, and no matter what profession they're in, right, you don't know them. You don't know what they think. People can go to bed at night and have the most twisted thoughts inside of their head, or the most twisted desires inside of their head, and they go to bed every night and think of those things or replay them inside of their head, and then they get up and put on a suit and tie, then they get up and put on a judge's robe, then they get up and put on a police uniform, and not just them, then they get up and they're a politician, then they wake up and they work at McDonald's. I mean, you just never know the person. Remember that all you see is the outside. All you see is the body. And this is why I always tell people to go with their gut, right? When you meet someone and you get the feeling something's not right, and you get the feeling that you're uncomfortable, go with that feeling, right? That's not your gut. We refer to it as our gut, but what it really is a sixth sense. We're told that we have the five senses, hearing, seeing, smelling, feeling, tasting, right? But there's a sixth sense, and that sixth sense is what we refer to as intuition, right? And humans aren't as so in touch with that anymore because our brain became so developed that we outthink our intuition. In other words, we can meet someone and say, I got a bad feeling about this person, right? That's our sixth sense telling us that. But then our overdeveloped brain talks us out of it. No, I'm sure we're all right. We've been told not to judge people, and we've been told not. You better judge people, right? When it is said that human beings judge another person within 3 seconds of seeing them, a whole calculation goes off inside of our head. We judge people by the way they walk, by the way they dress, by the way they talk, right? By the conversation that we have, just a visual judgment on people. And people say, oh, you shouldn't judge. You judge. Judge. I'm telling you to judge. It can save your life, right? I'm not saying that you should not give that person a chance. That's a different story. But what I'm saying is let your antennas go up and approach the situation with care after your gut tells you that. When your gut says this person is no good, pay attention to that feeling and be careful, skate on thin ice. And then, you can give people the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, keep your antennas up, right? Always be in touch with your sixth sense. In prison, I really got in touch with that sixth sense because it became a survival mechanism to judge people on the way they carry themselves and the way they talk. Because a lot of people show you who they are, right? Not with words. Words are meant to mislead. Remember that. Don't go by what people say, right? There's other things that people notice with their eyes and the perspective of someone and the feel of someone, right? Pay attention to those things, right? Because body language doesn't lie. The eyes don't really lie. So what I'm saying, here's another twisted case. I don't want to go off course with that. Here's another twisted case of a guy in a beautiful neighborhood with someone named in the complaint who was a district attorney. This guy was a real estate guy, a bunch of women inside of the house, tattooed up with dog collars, signing contracts. He had them signing contracts. Very, very twisted. I will keep you up to date on this story and fill you in soon. Crazy one, another crazy one. Don't point the finger at me and tell me I'm crazy. Oh my God.